Have you seen Dark Phoenix?
Shameful.
Unfortunately, so.
Hold that rant. All that and more up next. What's up, fam? It's Sean.
Sosa.
Profil.
Where's John?
Oh, well, due to unforeseen circumstances, John shot off into the devil's anus.
Wait, who's Zane?
And is unfortunately getting molested by the Grandmaster as we speak. But we're working real hard to get him back here by next Wednesday.
Here we go.
So Dark Phoenix, where do we even begin? Grossing in with a whopping 33 million on its opening night in America only.
Okay.
Making that the worst release in any X-Men film to date.
I would bet you that this movie doesn't even pass $300 million mark.
It's not much of a bet, it's almost a guarantee. Honestly, I don't see it making much more than it already has. It's a flop, everybody knows it, and it's a Phoenix crashing down.
And on top of that, it is 23% in the Rotten Tomatoes and 6.1 stars on IMDb.
Release all of those sounds that are trapped in your mind.
And here is why.
First things first, didn't in an Age of Apocalypse, she already had the Phoenix Force and that's how they defeated him in the first place?
I'm pretty damn sure that's the truth.
Is revealed.
Now, they go up into space and a solar flare magically gives her her power.
WTF.
What the hell?
This movie was filled from plot holes from the beginning, all the way from Professor X feeling all high and mighty to the leader of the Xmen at this time, Raven, not wanting to complete a mission they're set out to. I really wanted to like this movie, but it just wasn't there for me. I mean, aside from the acting, which was brilliant, Sophie Turner did an excellent job playing the role of Jean Grey as well as Dark Phoenix. The contrast was there. Professor X, him acting all high and mighty, but Magneto, was he really needed for this movie? Don't even get me started with these 3 schmuck aliens that came out of nowhere.
Yo, Phil. Hold me back, man.
Un poquito. Spoiler alert. Wasn't Jean Grey alive in the end of Days of Future Past?
In this movie, she meets a very tragic end, attempting to save all the X-Men. Sorry for the spoiler, but that does bring up a whole bunch of misconstrued timelines that involve this movie. Now, either Fox didn't care, or maybe they just didn't care. That being said, the timeline for this movie was all over the freaking place. The first movie took place during the 1960s with the Cuban Missile Crisis. They're all in their 20s or so. Now, flash 40 years later, they're still in their 20s. I don't get it. Honestly, Professor X and Magneto are supposed to be in their early 60s at this time. Even Beast himself is supposed to be in his late 40s, early 50s. Now, honestly, if Michael Fassbender is supposed to be 63 years old, that is the sexiest old man I've ever seen in my life.
I would like to know what moisturizing cream they use, cause
Damn! Honestly, I don't know what the hell was going on with this timeline, but things really need to be changed. They honestly just didn't even put forth an effort to make it match up with Days of Future Past as well as First Class. Now that the X-Men franchise is thankfully over, respects, we can move on, and now Marvel has the rights to X-Men, and now they're going to be looking for actors to star in these roles, starting with Wolverine.
bring back Logan. Bring him back. Please bring back Logan.
Okay.
Being that Marvel doesn't have any intention of rebooting X-Men due to respecting Fox and the work they've done, they still oddly are casting for Wolverine, which means they're probably going to introduce Wolverine at an earlier date, probably in the Avengers or possibly even Deadpool 3, who knows. But they do have a list of actors who are likely to play the roles, starting with Daniel Radcliffe. I know it's a hard choice, but he does meet the physical stature of Wolverine in the comics. Also mentioned is Tom Hardy, but his age factor doesn't really fit with starting a new franchise, as well as the fact that he's tied in currently with Venom. I've heard Taron Egerton from the Kingsman and Rocket Man is casted. Now, I'm personally excited for that. He's a very versatile actor. He's already shown to be adept in action movies, and I'm just excited to see what he might do with that role. And then you got your, you know, Havana Cabana boy Zac Efron for anyone who thinks that's a good idea. But we'd like to hear your thoughts.
So call me crazy, but I think Harry Potter might have a good chance of playing a rabid Wolverine, a young, feral, primal Wolverine, one who is just being picked up by the X-Men, or they're doing his own solo movie against Sabretooth, where he just first meets him, and you know, but that's just my opinion.
But here's one thing to look forward to.
The ageless Keanu Reeves.
Whoa.
Whoa, dude.
Morpheus? Is that you?
This is the sweetest man in the world. This is Keanu Reeves. The baby. The king. The avenger of dogs.
He makes me want to have a dog.
Don't talk about my wife like that.
I'm sorry.
All right, guys, that's all we got for today. Hit that subscribe button, smash that like button, and as always,
Rant on.
Damn.
I thought we were going to wait for the tap.
He's 79.
All right, go.
Okay, ready?